Okay, one of the things I love about this is when we get going, having an opportunity to have like this behind the scenes type of conversation. And my favorite question to ask, and I don't know if you've seen some of the prior shows, but I always like to ask when folks are behind the scenes, the number one question I like to ask is, what book are you reading now? What lesson have you learned from that book that we could take away, that we mean Shay Brown, and really apply it in his life and or business? So what book are you reading now, man?
That would be Creating a Story Brand. Story Brand would be the name of the book, or Building a Story Brand. There's a few different ways you can look it up, but it's by Donald Miller. And it really talks about branding and messaging, and covers a lot of the mistakes we make as business owners when we're talking about our brand. And it really teaches about creating the story around your brand that's easy for people to understand. Really getting super hyper focused with that messaging in a way that makes sense. It's been a great read. I'm actually liked it so much, I'm rereading it a second time right now because I really want to capture everything and make sure I'm taking advantage of everything that's offered in there. It's phenomenal read.
Cool. And the name of the book again, I'm going to download the book. I haven't read this book. What's the name of the book?
Building a Story Brand.
Building a Story Brand. All of us can talk about our story and how that relates. And that's probably a good segue as we're kind of behind the scenes. We'll get started in a second. It's probably a good segue, Evan, to give me a little bit of the backstory of Evan, how your business got started, and where you are today. Now, maybe it's a 2 or 3 minute version, so I can put it in my notes, man.
I was gonna say, it's a good thing you talked about business, because the story of Evan, it's a long one, man. I'll tell you what, we need a cigar and a bottle of whiskey for that, to say the least. But in business, I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. My dad was a business owner. My grandfather was a small business owner. My mom was a small business owner. I'm now on my third business as an entrepreneur, and really, I had a corporate job. I was director of marketing for a really good tech company, but from a culture standpoint, we didn't mesh. And I made the decision to not take my own advice, which is usually start a business while you have a job so you got income coming through. I didn't do that. So I decided to take the leap back into entrepreneurism. That what the word? I think so.
I like that. Yeah.
Entrepreneurism. It's a word. We're going to make a shirt out of that one, Shay. But I made the jump 2.5 years ago to get back into it because it's my passion. I got tired of turning the Titanic. And I've been in marketing for the last 10.5 years, working with small businesses, and really from working in sales and consulting and marketing, I've probably looked under the hood of 6,000 to 7,000 small businesses over the last decade now, which really gave me a lot of insight. And I fell into this really geeky niche that is the unsexiest niche you could probably fall into, which is email deliverability. And everyone's going to go, what's that? Essentially, it's helping you get your emails in the inbox. But I was helping a client who was dealing with some regulations in Europe about privacy. And in solving that problem, we fixed something that they didn't know was wrong, which they called me up one day. It was the craziest thing. They're like, Evan, what did you do to our system? And our first response was, well, I didn't break anything. What are you talking about? And they go, our open rates have doubled. Our click-through rates are 2.5 times what they were. Like, what did you do? So I backtracked and I saw, wow, this works. There's something to this. And I became, about 2.5 years ago, a student of how to send emails so they actually make it in the inbox. And I went from that being 0% of my business to now, fast forward 2.5 years later, 99% of my business is working with businesses, entrepreneurs, you name it. If you send email, I work with them on how to land their emails in an inbox. It's been an amazing journey. It's kind of like, it's like Tetris with the rules that are changing. You ever heard the saying, he makes the rules and he reserves the right to change the rules at any given time?
Absolutely.
That's kind of like email deliverability. Usually they're talking about something else. It's not a he in there. It varies a bit, but we've heard that story, and that's email. And I love the challenge. It just, the way my brain works, it's just, never thought I'd be the data guy, but it's so much fun.
Oh,
but that's
man,
like
I can't wait. I can't wait to get underneath the hood of your hat, by the way, and get into your brain over there, by the way, and really start digging into email deliverability and how to use it in the digital space. Look, we got to get going. The producer saying, Shay, get going. But I want to recognize Alyssa Mitchell, who's out there. What's up, Nicole Brown Hurston? What's going on, Clark Garrison, my good frat brother out of Atlanta? He said Atlanta is in the house. Ursula Garnett has joined us as well. Look, you're in for a treat. This is for the business owners out there right now that need to be able to communicate in this digital marketing space. So with that being said, it's time we're ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get ready to go, everyone. I can't wait.
Please go ahead and give a big standing ovation for the one and the only Shay Brown.
Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up and it knows it must outrun the fastest lion or will be killed and eaten. Also, every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up and knows it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve to death. You've heard it before. It doesn't matter whether you're a lion or a gazelle. When the sun comes up, you better be what? You better be running. That's right. You better be running.
Life is about meaning, and meaning is about service. Isn't that the reason why we're all here? Isn't that what we're all searching for? 2013, the Peak Performance Institute was created. 5,000 clients who we've helped turn their idea into a reality, their reality into a business, their business into a movement, impacting 5.7 million lives around the world. Imagine that! My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Network, the world's largest organization for the well-being of an entrepreneur. And as we always say, our mission at the Happy Entrepreneur Network, our mission is to inspire, empower, and provide resources for the entrepreneur to live a balanced life and execute their vision for the people they were called to serve. And our mantra, I love our belief. Everyone should have a belief statement. Our belief is the results that show up in your life are just as important as the results that show up in your bank account. With that being said, let's get started. Well, it's a great day. Welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and I'm so excited because on the other side, looking over there smiling, got his glasses on, got his Coolie Coo hat on, none other than Evan, all the way from Las Vegas. It's going to be on this evening. And I do want to welcome everyone, all of our happy entrepreneurs out there. Hello to you. Let me say hello to Danny in West Virginia. Thanks for joining. Vivian Wesley, always a pleasure. Glad you can make it on. Dorsey, what's up, Dorsey? I got to get hugs from Texas, Dorsey. Come on now. I got to get some hugs from Texas. You got to meet Dorsey. She's just fantastic, by the way. Ursula, Clark Garrison, Alyssa, Calvin, all of you who are joining right now, welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, we're going to have one of those type of conversations. And I always talk about the results in your life are just as important as the results in your bank account. Well, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, no matter what time it is, we're going to talk about results in your bank account using digital marketing. We're going to talk about the #1 way to increase your revenue with digital marketing. And Nathaniel, I know what you're thinking. Rhea Spine, I know what you're thinking. Email marketing, has that been around for as long as many of you been in business? Evan, do me a favor. Take a moment, if you will, and kind of break down what is this digital marketing and how does that relate to email playing a key role for where we are in today's time?
Great question. I mean, digital marketing is everything that's online digitally. It's Facebook ads, it's Google search, it's search engine optimization, it's your website, it's messenger marketing. It's all the different digital channels that you have access to and the ability to basically create a relationship with your customer leveraging digital technology. Pretty simple and straightforward. And it's funny, as technology has evolved, the message around it has really been the same. And from a business owner's perspective, what we're wanting to do is really create that relationship, create that rapport, And by giving us the ability to send the right message to the right person at the right time through the right channel. And despite the evolution of technology, despite how much everything has changed and every expert telling you Facebook bots, no Instagram, no this, no that, email is still the #1 channel as it relates to digital marketing.
But why? Why? I didn't mean to cut you off, but I guess I did.
No.
Why? I guess the question on anyone's mind out there, I see you, Nah, thanks a lot. I see you out there, Kizzy. Thanks for joining. Tahasha, thank you for being here as well. Sherry Johnson, you're going to learn something right now because I'm going to ask the question you text me, which is why? Why is email marketing still, and we put the quote out there earlier, why is it still at the top of the list when you've got, like you said, all these other social media platforms? Talk to us a little bit about that.
It's the most adopted. When you look at, let's just look at age. The majority of businesses and our consumers are 25 plus. And when you look at that 25 plus age range, email is the most widely adopted channel for everything. And when you look at high dollar sales and high dollar ticket sales and the affluency of people who have that, the #1 channel, and this was actually, I just saw this yesterday, it was Forrester Research, says email is the #1 channel for high volume or high dollar sales. #1 by far. And it was so interesting. And just the behavior of people when they're looking at promotional items, they want to see that in their email. They don't want to get it in the message. And a lot of it looks at, you got to look at your strategy and what everything does. Like if you're sending Facebook bot messages, you're limited to like 240 characters. If you're sending a text message, you're limited in characters. So the amount of communication that you can put, you got to understand what you can do where. And email really gives you the ability to drive more of a conversation and to have more of a dialogue versus 240 characters.
Got it. Now, can we be authentic for Pamela, who's out there as well? And so many. Dorsey said, I got my hugs. Thanks a lot. What's up, Conchita Irby, all the way from out there in Dale City, Virginia. I think you're still in Dale City, Virginia. What's up, Jacqueline Taylor Adams? Thanks for joining. For everyone that's joining right now, and you are ready to turn the wheel in your business. You're ready to market. You're ready to reach your target audience, and you want them to respond. Do me a favor. Look right below the video. Look right below the video right now, and I want you to write these words. It's my favorite words, but I want you to put these down. It's my time. It's my time. It's my time to get my message out. It's my time for people to open my email. It's my time for them to click on something in my email. If that's you, I'm going to do something special. Look right below the video. And put, it's my time. It's my time. Just put that right now. It's my time. And as you're writing those words, it's my time to step up my marketing. It's my time to raise my game. I'm going to ask Evan if he'll be authentic. We'll get into his story. Don't worry about that. We'll get into how famous he is. Don't worry about that. You'll understand he was like the magician behind Infusionsoft, and now he's back with Infusionsoft again. Don't worry about that. But Evan, take a minute and be transparent and tell them a little about what you've been doing with our Infusionsoft, right? Tell them first the problem that we have, because I'm okay with them knowing it. The problem that we had, why that problem existed, and then what your organization did to kind of put us back on the right track. Because I think if you frame it, it's okay to use us as a case study because we're a real case study. I really work with Evan, so it's a real conversation. You guys are behind the scene, but I want to pull back the big black curtain right now, Evan, and I want them to hear it directly from you. So I'm going to turn it over to you, man. Talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't do anything that's non-authentic. That's why you love me. That's probably why I'm here today. So we don't have to try and be authentic. We're just going to be, that's just who I am every day. Before we get into that, we talk about the number one thing that you can do to increase your digital marketing revenues. And that comes back to a question to ask that what is the most important aspect of any marketing campaign or effort you have? And in my opinion, the most important thing that you can do is actually get the message to the recipient. If you can't get a message to a recipient, it doesn't matter how good your copy is. It doesn't matter how good your sales page is. It doesn't matter how good your offer is. If you can't get that message to them, all of it's for naught because no one buys off of an ad. People buy off of conversion processes, and getting that email to them is important. And when we got connected initially, there were a few problems going on. The way you found out there was a problem was the way that most people find out that there was a problem, is they got spanked by their mailbox provider. So you guys use Infusionsoft, and Infusionsoft reached out and spanked you and said, hey, you're hitting too many invalid emails, you don't have good engagement, you need to get stuff fixed or we're going to shut you down. And unfortunately, a lot of my clients that I find come to me from that point. They found they had a problem because they got spanked. And here's my public service announcement. The problems that you experienced, they start off as small and they get bigger over time. Out of the 300 accounts that I've looked at over the last 2 years, 92% of them have email deliverability problems. Most of them don't know it yet. So what we're going to talk, I think this applies to you, but it really does. So sorry to be a little long-winded there, but that's important because this really is something that affects anyone. If you send email at any volume to grow your business, this applies to you, and I guarantee you there's things that are going on that we can fix to make it better. So your problem is you had no authentication in place. So you were kind of like, you were sending email without a license, which is kind of like driving a car down the street with no license plates, no registration, no proof of insurance, and your dog ate your license.
And I was using the Infusionsoft, right? I'm using Infusionsoft, and I've been doing it since 2006. So I'm 11, 12 years into this thing, and Evan's identified a problem today. All right, Evan, keep on going.
Yeah, and most people, again, don't know this. You don't know that, hey, there's like 3 different authentication things I got to put in place, and if I don't have that, I'm going to get in trouble for it. And you don't know that because, 1, no one's telling you those things, but 2, until the last 24 months, it wasn't as important. See, spam filters are evolving and spam filters are changing. It's almost all machine learning now. So it's changing every single day. But there's certain foundational aspects that you guys were missing, and it was your 3 authentication protocols. So when you're sending an email, the first thing the mailbox providers do is look at, are you authenticating properly? Is this message who it's from? And they're looking at that because of all the cybercrime that's out there. I think the cybercrime in 2019 is up 82% over the year before. And they're saying 75% of all cybercrime starts off with spoofing of emails. So you've got these mailbox providers who are looking out for you by saying, hey, if things aren't authenticating properly, we're going to put this to your spam folder so you don't fall suit to that. Does that make sense, Shay?
Yeah, it's making sense. I'm following. I'm tracking what you're saying.
So that's kind of the why behind things. So that was one thing. You guys didn't have authentication in place. Then you were following this old school methodology that pretty much everyone's been taught for the last 20 years when it comes to email. And it's all about the size of your list. You need to have this big, giant list, and you need to mail them until they buy, they die, or they opt out. Like, right?
That's true. Yes.
And that's what was going on. Well, unfortunately, and this big change really happened in February of this year when Google turned on their machine learning called TensorFlow. I kind of equate that. Remember the movie Terminator? Yeah. It's like the day. What was that called? What was remember the machines? It was.
I remember the machine. I don't remember what it was called.
Goodness. It was the Skynet. It was the day Skynet went live. It was like February 6th of this year. And it's all machine learning now, and it's looking at all this. And now they're looking at not just authentication of your domain and your reputation, but they're looking at how is the engagement. Like, are people actually opening and clicking on your emails, or is it just sitting there? And to your point, and back to your account, when I looked at what was going on there, less than 30% of people that you were sending email to were engaging in your marketing. And because of that, it gave you a bad reputation, especially with Google, which is 52% of your list. So because you had a bad reputation with Google, you couldn't send emails. So when we fixed that, it's funny, I actually have the stats here now, and I was looking at them a few minutes ago. When you look at sending to Google, before only 30% of new contacts were opening emails. Now when it comes to Google, your exact metrics, 85.7% of people that you're sending an email to right off the bat
they're getting
are opening
emails.
it.
Woo!
So, I mean, literally, we went from 33% engagement on new contacts to 85.7% in 60 days.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big difference.
And we send a number of emails. Many of you are on our email list. You probably get at least one email a day. It's very relevant content, but at least one email a day. Thanks for opening.
Yeah. See, there we go. And thank you for opening. You opening the emails and clicking links helps Shay. So open every email you can.
Yes, please.
Click on links, forward emails, reply to emails.
Now, Dorsey asked the question, is this where double opt-in comes in? So if someone's double opting in, does this prevent and skyrocket where they are? Can you take a minute to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so double opt-in is great, and in some countries it's required. Like if you're sending mail to people in Canada, some of the provinces in Canada require double opt-in. If you're sending emails to the EU or the UK, they want double opt-in and proof of their. I need a whiskey for that conversation, but that's a conversation in itself. Double opt-in really helps you on the systems that you're using. What most of the Infusionsofts and Active Campaigns and MailChimps don't tell you is they've got different quality servers and IPs that they send emails off of. So double opt-ins go off of their best IPs. Engaged people go off of a higher tier IP. Lesser engaged people go off of a lower, and so on and so forth. So the better the engagement, the better the opt-in processes that you have, the better the IP addresses that you're going to send from your mailbox or from your email provider. On the flip side, if you've got really bad engagement, you're getting spam complaints, you don't have good opt-in processes, you're buying lists, good luck getting an email through because you're going to get spanked across the board.
Yeah.
Everywhere. They're just
and that spike is going to prevent you from being able to get your emails delivered. So while you're writing these messages and you're doing the best you can, what you're going to find out is they're either not getting the email or it's not being delivered. Is that correct?
Yeah. And the worst part is it's going to be your customers is who you're going to find it out from. Because you're going to sell a digital product, or you're going to send an email with a warranty information or something, and then you're going to get that phone call, hey, Shay, I never got your email. What's going on here? You're like, well, I sent it.
I'll be like, check the spam. And it's not even the spam. They never received the email. It was never delivered.
Oh, I've got a new client right now, Shay. They're on their own custom mailing system. They cannot send to Google. 98.7% of the emails that they send from Google are rejected.
Wow. Because
they had bad email practices. They were hitting spam traps and invalid authentication. It's bad. And that's what you don't realize. So here's the myth, and here's like the big thing that people don't realize. They think that if I sign up for MailChimp or Infusionsoft or whatever the system, deliverability is on them. All I have to do is create the messages and hit send. And unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
70 to 80% of what makes up deliverability lies on you. It's in your control. 20%, maybe 30% if you're on a shared IP, is handled by the mailbox provider. And what makes it harder for the mailbox provider is of that 20 to 30% of that they own, 70% of that is impacted by the sending behaviors of its clients. So if you're sending email that people aren't opening, they're marking as spam, you're hitting these bad email addresses, it's not only going to hurt you, but it hurts the mailbox system that you're sending from too. It's this vicious cycle.
It's a cycle that goes on, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to pause. We're here on the Happy Entrepreneur Show, speaking to the one and only Evan, by the way, with fundamental marketing, by the way. This is something he lives, sleeps, and breathes, as you can tell. He gets so passionate about it. When we come back, I'm going to ask him, he's kind of laid out what the problem is. He kind of shared a little bit about what you can do. I'm going to ask him to break down what you should be doing if you just started in business, what you should be doing if you're like a seasoned professional and you're using these high-end CRMs. And so, you know, some of you are just getting started. I understand it, using MailChimp or whatever the system you're using. And what can you do today to kind of take the step to get your list in order? And then if you're on the high end, what can you do? Look, you don't want to miss this, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you show up like a pro and you show up in their inbox and they click on it. So with that being said, we'll be right back. We're going to go over to Anisha. She's out there where you are, by the way. She's in Las Vegas as well, and she's going to talk about show up like a pro. We'll be back in just a moment with none other than Evan with Fundamental Marketing. Let's be right back.
My name is Anisha Garrett from Elise & Co., and I am super excited to be here with you today in the Happy Entrepreneur Tribe. You know what? Today is my January 1st, and I know it's yours too because you showed up here with great enthusiasm, ready to get at it and get in it. Now, today I'm going to be sharing something extra special with you, and it's extra special because it comes from my dear Grandma Betty. Now, she is near and dear to my heart, and she taught me this thing that has carried me so far in my life, in my business, and that is showing up like a pro. Now, there's two key elements to showing up like a pro. One is you are prepared, and the second is you deliver. But today, I'm just going to be talking about that very first one, and that is being prepared. Now, how am I always prepared for things? I'm going to give you a little secret. I ask a ton of questions. I like to know what the expectations are and what success looks like. So I do this with my clients. I've done this in my professional life with my supervisors, managers, any team that I'm on. I like to know exactly what success looks like so that I can be prepared to deliver it. You don't know what to deliver if you haven't asked some critical questions. Now, I'm going to give you guys a pro tip because a lot of us set meetings with clients and team members. If you're the facilitator, give out an agenda prior to the meeting because then the attendees can be prepared. They can have deliverables. Ask them for the numbers that you're going to want them to crunch. Ask them for any presentations or deeper information. And for you with your clients, this is especially important because you want to give them exactly what they need while you have their attention. So that way you're not delaying the buying process because we're all here to make money in our business. So we want to make sure that we're prepared to ask those questions so that we can close those deals. So until I talk to you guys again, make it an amazing day. Make it an amazing week.
How true is that? You're back at the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country. You're speaking to myself, Shay Brown, or I'm speaking to you. And on the other side is none other than the man himself out there in Las Vegas, none other than Evan, by the way. And so we're having a conversation about digital marketing, specifically a key component, which is email. And here's what I'd like for you to do. For Dwight Fortune, who's out there, what's up, by the way? Thanks for joining from Florida. For Daniela Coffey, who's out there all the way from Chi-Town, thanks a lot for joining. What's up, Pamela? We appreciate you. Do me a favor. Look right below the video, and write these words. Show up like a pro. Show up like a pro for your digital marketing. Just put show up like a pro. Now, Evan's going to talk about how to show up like a pro, but how do you show up like a pro for your digital marketing? Because what good does it do you to be writing, as he mentioned earlier, sending messages and no one hears it or no one responds simply because it got caught up in that middle area, just like I was stuck in that cycle and I'm doing all the hard work, and guess what? I'm not reaching my target audience. And many of you have a vision for the people you were called to serve, and you can't execute that vision if you can't talk to them. So, Evan, the question I have for those folks that are out there right now, like Dorsey, who's watching and says, show up like a pro, the question I have is, will you speak to two groups of folks? The person is out there that's like just getting started, or they're a middle tier, and they get intellectually, they need email marketing, but they're like, what can I do? What should I do? And what should I be looking out for? And then can you swing to the other side to that, that Shay Brown, that Trevor Ox is out there. They're trotting saying, ooh, I got all these emails. I'm sending messages, but I'm not quite getting the numbers that I want. What can they do? Turn over to you, my man.
Man, that's a really hard one to break into two parts, Shay.
Okay.
And the reason why is the behaviors that you need to do are the same regardless of what side of the spectrum you're on. Now, obviously, when you're just getting started, financially, you don't always have the ability to invest, what what you'd want to if you'd already where you're going to be. But from fundamentally speaking, what you've got to look at is the same no matter where you're at. And really, I teach my clients that there's 3 pillars as it comes to email deliverability. Authentication, reputation, and content. And those are the 3 things that no matter where you're at in your journey of business that you have to look at. Number 1 is authenticate. It's that analogy we talked about a few minutes ago, driving without a license. You can somewhat be sending an email without a license if you're not authenticated. I'm going to put my geeky hat on for a second and get technical. So there's 3 different authentication protocols that you have to have in place. I'm not going to get in depth of them because I actually want people to enjoy this now and not get completely bored. But they're called SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. And those are the 3 different authentication protocols that exist. You need to have those in place for any system you use to send email. And that doesn't just mean your Infusionsoft account. If you've got your business email hooked up through G Suite, which is Google, or Office 365, which is Microsoft.
Microsoft, yeah.
You've got to authenticate those. And basically what these say is, hey, receiving person, if I'm sending an email from one of these systems, I'm saying it's okay, they're from me. It's like this digital signature that's in place that's saying this is authentic, this is real, you can accept this on my behalf. That makes sense, Shay?
Yeah, that makes sense so far. I'm with you so far.
And when you look at, I think part of this is going to help to understand like what's the journey an email takes. So you should be able. Can you see my screen right now, Shay?
We're gonna bring it up, guys. Can you guys bring that up for you? Okay, they're looking at your screen now.
All right. So when you hit send, there's this path that an email goes on, and it's kind of like entering a military base. There's 2 key checkpoints you got to get through, and checkpoint 1, they're looking at, is this email address real and active or not? They're looking at, how is the quality of the IP address that's sending this? Are you authenticated properly? And is there just blatant spam in this mail? And if you get through those basic checks, you actually make it to the mailbox. But the mailbox isn't the inbox. The mailbox is the inbox, the promotions tab, the updates tab, the social tab, and the spam folder. So once you've made it through, if you don't get blocked, then you hit the spam folder. And that's where that's that checkpoint 2, where they say, okay, now we're going to look deep. We're going to look at your content. We're going to look at your links. We're going to look at all the different aspects and determine where should we place your email in an inbox. And authentication is a big part of that. If you're not authenticating properly, emails just aren't going to get through as much. And if they do get through, Google, I don't know if you've ever seen this one, Shay. Have you seen an email that you've got in your Google and your Gmail that has a big yellow or red warning that says, be aware of this email?
I hate that. That's how you and I got started again, because I got that message.
Yep.
Up top, yeah.
Like that's what it shows to people. Now, most people don't know their email and understand how things work, but when they see big yellow and red warnings inside of an email, that's usually a sign to click delete and run away. And that's why you get bad open rates on there. So, yeah, I show this just so you understand kind of like what's the path, what's actually happening after you hit send. Where does it go? And there's 2 spots where your emails can get lost depending on how good or how bad you're doing.
I see that. There's that spam filter there. I see the spam check there as well. And then it hits the inbox. Is that correct?
Yep. If you make it through there. And if not, you can make it to one of the folders. And hitting those folders isn't always a bad thing. That's kind of a conversation we can have in another day. And I just killed sharing that screen there, Shay.
I got you.
Some of those folders are there for a reason. And that's another conversation. But when we go back to the question of what are the things that everyone needs to look out to, authentication is key. If you're not authenticating, you're just shooting yourself in the leg. It's like running a race with a leg in a boot cast and a crutch. You're just going to be pulled off right from the start, and you're setting yourself up for struggles.
Now, is that something someone has to bring on an organization like yours to do, or is authentication something the person can kind of start working on their own, like start cleaning their list up. What's your recommendation?
We're going to talk about cleaning lists in a second. Like, authentication isn't hard if you know what you're doing. And
I like that. It's not hard. It's like cooking. It's not hard if you know how to cook. I love that. That's a good one.
It's true, because if you look at me, it doesn't take me a massive amount of time to do it. That's probably because I've set it up 500 times. Are there help articles out there that'll talk you through how to do it? Yes. The problem is, if you do something wrong, you can cause more harm than good. So my advice always is, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, find someone who does. And I think that's in any aspect of your business, not just authentication. If you're struggling with building a website, bring on someone who can help you do it. Find a way to make it work. But, I'd be careful, because some things you can cause more harm than good.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I like
cautiously.
Yeah, one of the things I like, you kind of answered the question. Dorsey put the question down there, how do you authenticate? And I think you answered that question just now. One of the things that we're going to talk about is, how do you clean the list? So some of you are sitting back listening right now. We'll take a commercial. We're going to come right back in a moment. And you're thinking, all right, Shay, I understand what is taking place. So thanks so much, Evan, for breaking that down. Evan's with Fundamental Marketing. Got it. Now I understand I've got to start authenticating, because that'll help prioritize when my email goes out. Got it, Shay. I'm checking that box. But now, what do I do now that I know I have a problem? Like, what is email cleanup? Is that even, what's the pros and the cons when you do an email cleanup? And then how do you recommunicate? Well, we'll start with email cleanup. When we come back, we'll be back in just a moment. We're going to talk about email cleanup, because email still now is the fastest, easiest way to communicate directly with your target audience. And as Evan mentioned a stat earlier, it's also where some of the high ticket, or most of the high ticket sales are made, and decisions are made as well. We'll be right back. We're going to go over to April Tusi, who's out there in Phoenix, Arizona, and she's going to talk about how to get more exposure and what you need to do. We'll be back in just a moment. Angel, take it away.
Well, hello, happy entrepreneurs tribe. How you guys doing today? I'm Angel Tussey. I'm your media exposure specialist, and I'm bringing you my thought of the week. Somebody asked me recently, what would you tell your younger version of you getting started in business? What is the one thing you wish you would have known or would have done more earlier in business? And I have to tell you, it's the same thing that I teach. It's the same thing that I do every single day, and that is get more exposure. Create more publicity for you and your brand. Don't be America's best kept secret when it comes to your business. What you do matters. What you do makes an impact, and your customers need your service. So my tip, I'm going to do a 3-part series for you. The first part of this 3-part series on how do you create more media exposure, get more publicity for you and your brand, and build it even faster, is to make a wish list. What are those media outlets, television shows, radio shows, podcasts, magazines, online programs that you want to be featured on? And don't just think the major brands, right? The major outlets, we do want those. But even think about some of those smaller, easier to access venues that share your target audience or would make great marketing partners for you. And the reason we often start local and with some of these smaller platforms is they're, one, easier to get access to. Two, the local outlets, the local platforms and media outlets, they can take that up the chain, right? They can make an introduction about you and your story to that local media, to their regional media affiliates. And by the time you get to those major outlets, they've already said, I've heard of you, and they want to hear your story. So that's part 1 of a 3-part series on how you can get more media exposure for you and your brand. Make it a great day. Thanks.
Make it a great day. Absolutely. Get more media exposure. And then once you have the media exposure, once folks go to your webpage, once they opt in, once they connect with you, well, then the work really begins. Now you got to communicate. And nothing can be more frustrating than getting in front of your target audience, sharing to the world there is a problem, them saying, yes, 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 send me your free gift, or yes, yes, I want to know more about you. And now you have their email, so you're so excited. And then you go to communicate, and guess what? Your message is not heard. I know in marketing, the joke always is, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there, does it make a sound? Well, I'm not going to ask you if that happens or not, Evan, but that's always one of those fundamental questions, right? But here's the question we're going to go to, by the way. What's up, Milton Lawrence, and everyone who's joining out there, by the way? Here's the question. How do you do email cleanup? First, what is email cleanup? Because I'd never even heard the term, by the way, until I talked to you. I know that earlier on here, my good friend Dorsey, who's watching, said she did an email list purge. Now, I don't know if a purge is the same as an email cleanup, but that's a question you got to at least address in the beginning, I think. Question number one is purge and email cleanup the same? Number two, what is email cleanup? And then number three, how do you do it? What's up, Danny? I see you. What's up, Justin Burns, Maestro in the house? Always a pleasure. Over to you, Evan.
Well, I think to answer the question is email purge. I don't know what that means. I think one of the hard parts is everyone uses different vernacular and terminology with things, so it's hard to necessarily say did I do it all or not. That being said, email cleanup and hygiene is the term I use. It affects that second pillar that I always talk about, which is reputation. And it's that popularity contest. And the big thing you want to look out for with hygiene isn't just pulling out people that are inactive, because that doesn't clean up everything. List hygiene is there to get bad emails out. So invalid emails, bots, malicious email domains, and the worst thing is spam traps. And spam traps, let me see if I can do the 30-second description. Good emails go bad. Every one of us out there has probably had a Yahoo or an AOL email at one time that we said to ourselves one day, I am getting way too much junk mail here. I need a new email address so I can get rid of this stuff. And you stop using one and use another. Well, when you do that, it doesn't just go away. The mailbox providers like AOL watch those. And after a certain period of time, whether it be as short as 60 days and some up to a year, they'll deactivate that account, or they'll recycle it and convert it to a spam trap. Because in the minds of Google and AOL, if you're mailing to a mailbox where no one's receiving it and logging in, you are a spammer.
What?
And I know that hurts, but
yeah.
they classify you as a spammer.
But what if it's not my fault? I didn't know that Evan decided to change his Yahoo email, and Evan decided he's going to go get a Gmail email because it sounded cool. I mean, why am I penalized for that? I mean, I know that might be the answer. Maybe that's a different question. I don't even want to get into that. But it seems unfair. It seems unfair. I'll say that. It
is, but you've got to realize there's Cisco has a company called Talos Intelligence that tracks all emails sent. Last month, over 85% of all emails sent was spam.
What?
85% of all emails sent was spam. So you look at that high number, and then you kind of understand what's the job of Gmail. Their job is to provide a quality inbox experience for you as a user. Well, as a user, a quality inbox experience, is it easy to navigate, and is it not loaded with spam? So they're doing everything they can to keep the garbage out. Unfortunately, there's a lot of friendly fire because of some of the practices that get put in place. So spam traps, it's not fair because most people don't know what happens, but it does happen. So the question comes in, how do you clean your list? You have to use a true list hygiene tool that identifies spam traps, malicious domains, bots. Sorry, I've been in Vegas and it's really dry here.
That's cool, man. That's not a worry.
I'm gonna take
I got you on the side. Yeah, I got you on the side. They're looking at me now. I got a big jug of water over here myself, by the way. But this is a really relevant conversation because when we identified that we were sending emails to people who had changed their email because they were getting too many emails, they moved from a Yahoo to a Gmail, and it wasn't being answered, I was really teed off when I learned out that I'm being penalized for it. So I'm glad, Evan, you're breaking it down and you're kind of sharing that what the responsibility of Gmail is to do.
Yeah, you got to watch it because they're doing everything to keep the stuff out, and if you don't have good practices in place and hygiene, it's kind of like they don't want you to be the stinky kid. They want you to take a bath every day, use deodorant, and don't be the smelly guy, and sending emails to people that are open, and you end up being that dude.
Oh,
so,
I remember that. Yeah.
They don't want you to be that dude.
And I remember I was on there on the call, and we were on there, and I was like, okay, the number still isn't bad. No, the number still isn't bad. And you're like, Shay, the number can still be better. Okay, well, we gotta do this email hygiene, which I had never heard of in like 15 years in business. You're like, Trevor, I come up with these words. I'm like, what is this? But I'm so glad we did. The results that you showed me, that I went from 30% to now 85% open rate on my emails, is a result of what Evan is talking about right now. And y'all know, you get an email from me at least once a day because I want to communicate with you. And I've got some good stuff to communicate with you. And I thank you for opening it. Now that you know that, and you gave him the story earlier, Evan, get back into email hygiene, and that'll answer Dorsey's question about purge. I think you did so well when you kind of talked about the difference of those.
No problem. So you got to be careful, because a lot of these vendors out there talk about validators as hygiene, and there's difference between validation and hygiene. There's one tool that I use and recommend out there. We can put it out in show notes later, because I'm not going to talk about that right now. But there's one tool I use and recommend because it catches is more than anyone else out there. And it's interesting enough. I have a brand new client just yesterday, Shay, and when we looked at them, they were having problems delivering to Hotmail. And when we looked at their list, so Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail are like the big three. Gmail, they were getting 80% engagement in Gmail. Hotmail, they were getting 13% engagement. I mean, glaring issue. When I cleaned their list, they had 117 spam traps in Hotmail. It's a direct correlation. What? 117 spam trap emails. And that basically got them blocked through Hotmail. Everything was going to the spam folder. And most people don't check the spam folder. They'll check promotions, they'll check updates, but they don't check spam. So we just got to do that, stay out of spam. So the only way to do true list hygiene is by exporting your database from whatever you're using and running it through a third-party tool. Some people ask me that, they go, Evan, well, can't I just look for who's engaging and who's not and pull out the people that haven't? Unfortunately, that answer is no. Right. Because a lot of the spam traps now, these tricky mailbox providers who we love them so much, they're programming bots into their spam traps. So spam traps can open emails, spam traps can click on links, and it masks the behavior for you. So if you haven't historically kept up on this, you can get fooled by what your metrics show. So if you've ever sent an email and within 20 seconds of sending the email, you already see a bunch of opens and clicks, I'm going to burst your bubble. They're probably not real. Yeah. Those are probably bots in your list that are opening and clicking on receipt because that's what they're programmed to do. So you got to clean your list. Like the three things that everyone has to do right now, you have to authenticate your emails properly. You don't, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
So step number one, for those folks that are taking notes, for all of our digital note takers out there, we appreciate you. Evan's going to give 3 steps. And I know the question on everybody's mind is, how do I get my emails delivered? How do people hear my message? Forget all the money you spent on some copywriter, wrote some fancy words, and maybe someone opened it up right. It's not about the copy. You think it's about the copy, and the email never got through. So Evan's going to give 3 steps. I want you to write these 3 steps down. I want you to look right below the video. He's going to say, step 1, do this. Someone do me a favor. Write that right below the video. Why are you doing that? Because you're paying this message forward to another entrepreneur. You're paying this message forward to someone else who might be listening to it on the podcast or listening to it on a conference call. So, Evan, go ahead and break down the 3 things you need to do right now.
Yeah, so number 1 is you have to authenticate your emails.
So number 1, authenticate your email.
Yeah, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. There are 3 of them. You got to have those in place. That's number 1. Number 2 is you have to have a clean list. Export your database, run it through a hygiene solution. You know, cleaning a 10,000 person database probably cost you about $100 just for the tool. You do it because some of these mailbox providers, especially these small like internet providers, you hit one spam trap, you're blocked. Good luck getting through. And they're out there. So number 2 is clean your list. Number 3, watch your engagement. The days of build a giant list and mail them till they buy, they die, or they opt out are far and gone. What Google looks at, and Google, if you're selling business to consumer, Google looks at engagement, and they're the strictest on engagement. 3 months of non-engagement is really their cutoff. You could stretch it to 6, but 3 months is really where they're looking at. So you've got to be constantly watching the engagement in your list. And that's step 1 in there. Step 2 is you start to want to learn to be proactive. So for those of you using more like marketing automation, like Infusionsoft or ActiveCampaign or Marketo, if you're really big, you want to identify non-engagement early and re-engage in the process before they forget you.
Now that's really advanced, Evan. That's advanced. I want you to hold that thought. Say it one more time. I want you all to hear this because this is where we are. Evan talked about the problem that I had, and I was transparent. He talked about the progress we made over the last, 30 days now?
I think 45 or coming up 60 days.
Over 60 days. Which is tremendous, 30% to 85%. I didn't stop sending emails. I didn't change the copy. I just did business as usual. Business as usual, and the email numbers have skyrocketed, okay? So this really works. Now he's getting to a critical part because you've segmented the list. You've got people who are not engaged, where it's not getting delivered, and now Evan's getting ready to get into a very important part. And Evan, make that point again. What do you do? Well, I'll let you make the point. What's the point? Say the point again.
Engagement. That point?
Yeah, the point was, what do you do with the people who are not engaged, have not been engaged, and what's a good strategy to re-engage them and bring them back into the list of folks who are being open? So we're going to assume that you have 2 lists to make things simple, right, Evan? One list of people who are receiving your email, another list of people who are not receiving your email. Got it, Shay. Then we got another list of people who are receiving your email but not clicking on your email.
The big thing you've got to do psychologically is realize that if they've gone 90 days and haven't done anything with you, they're telling you, I'm not interested. Now, it's not that they're not interested in your product. They're not interested in the way you're solving the problem. Because when they got into your system, they probably downloaded a lead magnet. They requested information from you. So you know that they've got some sort of pain that goes to what you're selling, or they have a problem that what you're selling can solve. But the way you've communicated hasn't worked. So to successfully re-engage, you've got to understand, how did I communicate? Realize that they've said, no, that doesn't work for me, and kind of flip the script and start talking in a different way. Does that make sense, Shane?
Yeah, I love it. And that's what we're going to do when we come back. We're going to take a commercial. We're here on the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue-focused late-night show in the country. We're talking to none other than Evan. Evan is the founder of Fundamental Marketing, and his goal every single day when he gets up is to make sure that you are able to communicate with your target audience, that they get your message, and that you understand the metrics behind what happens when that email leaves your database. Yeah, very important. We get back, I'm going to ask him, hey, Evan, what are some ways that we re-engage people? What are some ways that after we re-engage them, we kind of make sure they don't get back on that same list again? We'll get to that in just a moment. We're going to go now down to Raleigh, North Carolina, with the one and only Letitia Beatty. Now, Letitia Beatty Nicole just got back from traveling, and she's talking about we all need balance. Yeah, I guess we do. The results that show up in your life are just as important as the results that show up in your bank account. And we come back, of course, Evan's going to be talking about results in your bank account. But first, let's go over and talk to Letitia. Results in your life are very important. Take it away, Letitia.
Hello, everybody. It's your girl, Letitia Nicole, CEO, founder of Speak Life Enterprises, where we teach powerful entrepreneurs like yourself how to use words to shape their reality. Well, today is my January the 1st. And before I begin my thought of the week, I am going to tell you that the man that's responsible for this group, Shay Brown, you're amazing, you're incredible, and I want to say thank you for allowing me to speak life to your group. Now, on to my thought of the week. I am down here in Miami, South Beach. I just got off a cruise from Jamaica and Cayman Island. The reason why I'm telling you this is because we all need balance. As entrepreneurs, it's important to have balance. It's important to spend time with yourself, with your spouse, with your children. just as important to run your business. So please make time for yourself. I've been gone for 7 days, and I'm going to be in South Beach for a couple of more days because Monday I'm going to be ready to start my business again. It's important to have balance so you can have mental stability, physical stability, and spiritual stability. All right? So remember, have balance. It's okay to vacation. It's okay to enjoy yourself and spend time with your family because it's necessary. All right? Now you guys have an amazing, amazing week. And remember, add balance to your calendar for you. Okay? Again, my name is Letitia Nicole. Until next time, that's right. Have balance. Bye.
It's a great day indeed. You have to have balance in your life, balance in your business, which is one of the reasons why Evan's been doing what he's doing, because he knows how to find that balance, which is super amazing. You're here watching the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We want to thank the folks out there, many of you who are taking notes right now. And I see Dorsey is putting down, I have MailChimp, and they use DKIM authentically for authentication, whatever that means. Oh, and passing SPF checks. That's what she said. Jacqueline put down the 3 steps. Authenticate email properly. Have to clean lists. Export the database and run through the hygiene model. Okay, that's good. And look at your engagement. Identify non-engagement early and then re-engage is one of the notes that she put down. So I was asking Evan right before we took we had the producer's minute. I was asking him to talk a little bit about re-engagements and what are some strategies. Now, it's different for different folks based on your industries, based on your target audience, based on your mail list. But I just asked him off the top of his head, based on his experience, what are some of the key strategies people have used to re-engage their audience and get them back on to the right list so they can be communicated to?
Yeah, it's and that's a tough one, Shay, to kind of just give this umbrella to. The big thing goes back to what we said right before the break, which was understand that them not engaging is them saying I'm not interested, and that's the hard thing. But once you do that, then you can start looking at taking a different approach and communicating differently. And this is where understanding who your customer is and what are the problems that they're looking to solve, or what's the goal that they're looking to get to by doing business with you is so important. Because if you know, hey, the person's coming to me because their revenues are low. So for me, okay, great. So we're going to talk about increasing revenues. We're going to talk about open rates. We're going to talk about click-through rates. It's all about finding what's that pressure point for that customer and hitting on that proper pressure point. The big thing, and I kind of want to shift your question a little bit, is really more so how to make the most out of email you're sending. So whether it's an engaged email or non-engaged email, I think there's some fundamental challenges that a lot of people are having. And there's some things that you can do to fix that to give your email more of a chance. Is it kind of cool if we go there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So number one is I'm a big fan of what they call conversational copy. And conversational copy is better one for the spam filters, because when those machine learnings look at the email, it has more of a look and feel like, hey, this is a personal email sent to that person having a conversation, so it helps. The other thing is it creates more of a relationship with people when you're able to have more of a conversation. You're speaking with them, not to them or at them. And that's a big change for a lot of people. And what I've seen when that happens is that I go back, and one of my mentors always told me, if you make a friend, you make a sale. And by creating more of a conversation and dialogue with your marketing, you give that ability to make a relationship. So that's one thing. The other thing that I look at is in my opinion, humbly, email is misused. And I want to use the analogy of fishing. When you go fishing, you got your pole, you got line, you got a hook, and then you got bait. A lot of people are really doing what they can to use email as the hook to reel people in. And I think you need to look as email more psychologically as the bait. Let's get them to bite the bait, which is our email, and that's reading the email. And that means shorter, sweeter emails. Don't sell in your emails. Create a relationship, create curiosity for them to take the next step, which is to bite the hook. And the hook is your sales page. Does that make sense, Jay?
Yeah, repeat that again. What you're saying, I'm hearing you say, is that don't worry about selling them directly in the email, but get the hook and then take them from the email, which means they clicked on something and took an action somewhere else. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Let your sales page, let your landing page, let booking a call create the conversation. So don't try and sell your product in an email. Don't necessarily sell your service in an email. Create the relationship and understand the pain and get them enticed to take that next step. That's where email becomes more powerful. And also that's where email has more of a likelihood to land in an inbox rather than a promotions folder. Because I'm just going to say it, an email will land in a promotions folder because it sounds promotional. So the less promotional your emails are, the more value you're giving, the more relationship you're building, the more conversation you're having, the more likely you're going to land into an inbox. And when you make that shift, you'll find yourself building better relationships with your customers. Your emails open rates are going to be much higher because they're not looking at an email going to go, oh boy, Shay's selling me something again. Here we go. They're looking at it and saying, wow, I'm going to get something for this, so let me read it. And then the sales page does the work. Let your sales page do what they're supposed to do and sell. Let your email create those relationships, create those bonds, make a friend, make a sale, entice them to take that next step.
God, I love it. I love it. You know, we're here with none other than Evan. Evan's the founder of Fundamental Marketing. He's talking about making sure we understand email deliverability. He's giving us the number one solution to drive our digital marketing revenues, and that is through email communication, which every single entrepreneur that I know today is still using email as the primary mechanism of how they get out their message to the world. And you back that up with all the facts and data a little bit earlier. When we come back, I'm going to dive a little bit into who is Evan? Why does Evan do what he does? And where does Evan see email, not today, but tomorrow? And I know he doesn't have a crystal ball, but we're going to ask him to look into his crystal ball and say, let me see where we are 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and as the primary way that we're going to be communicating. Love what you're doing, man. With that being said, we're going to go all the way over to the one and only down in Georgia, none other than Iris Alliston, by the way. And she talks about introverts. Well, they still make great leaders. How true is that? We'll be back in just a moment. You're watching the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue-focused late-night show in the country. My name is Shay Brown, and on the other side is Evan. We'll be back in just a moment. Take it away, Iris.
Hello, Happy Entrepreneurs Tribe. Hope you're all doing well. Iris Allison here with the Allison Group, and today is my January 1st. I'd like to share with you what took place recently. I was talking to a young lady the other day, and she asked me a really good question. Is being humble a good quality to have in her line of work as a coach? Good question, right? I should also point out that she's an introvert. She's been a life coach for a little under a year, so she's really new in the industry, and she's still learning as she builds her business. Now, I think according to her question, she's more concerned about staying humble while leading her members, leading her students. That's how I understood it anyway. And my reply was this: absolutely. I believe being humble is a very good quality to have, not just for introverted entrepreneurs, but for everyone, for all entrepreneurs. A humble leader has inner strengths. We have the strengths and the courage to admit when mistakes are made. And we know we all make mistakes from time to time. A humble leader also inspires leadership. And as introverts, we're able to focus on others and serve those around us. So being humble is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of confidence. It's a sign of greatness. I hope this inspires you. I hope this is helpful for you. Until next time, make it a brilliant day.
Make it a brilliant day. 100%. You're here with Shay Brown on the Happy Entrepreneur Show, and none other on the other side, Evan, the founder of Fundamental Marketing. Now, you might be wondering the question as he's been going into all this techie stuff. You might be wondering what drives Evan. What keeps Evan going? Where is this burning desire he has to actually serve other folks and do what he does every day? So I guess the question is, Evan, what's your big why? Why do you do this?
You know, I think a lot of it comes from being an entrepreneurial family. You know, I grew up with my dad running a very successful business back then, and I was really lucky growing up. I grew up in, very well off. We used to, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. I know we had a guest on from Phoenix earlier, so hello. But I was lucky. I got to travel, spent my summers in San Diego. Went to visit my grandparents 4 times a year in Miami and Aruba, and was really, really blessed. But, I didn't get to see my dad. We were gone 3-4 months out of the summer, and if I saw him for 2 weeks total, I was lucky. And as I've gotten into entrepreneurship and run my own businesses, I've seen that trend. And my why comes to help entrepreneurs realize that there's another way to do things, and that there's a better way to do things, and that you don't have to be a slave to your business. You don't have to really be bound to your desk or be bound to your phone. Like, there's a better way to do things, and really to help and empower and educate them on what they can do to improve. That's my why, is to help them get more family time, to help them get more of that. I'm going to have a conversation with your friend who talked about balance, because I have a different take on balance. I think it's blend. Because balance, if you look at its term, it's 50-50. It's equal. And for us that own a business, it's never equal. We can't. We're like fibbing ourselves. But blend to me was like always, whatever I'm doing, I'm 100% at it. And I need to be as 100% with family time as I am with work time. But my why is to help people get out of the rut, to build a bigger business and be more efficient in what they do. It's what I love. It's what I've done.
I love it. And the next question is, what does Evan do for fun when he's not out geeking out, by the way, reading all the stuff about emails, deliverables, and numbers here, numbers there, charts and graphs? What does Evan do for fun?
Evan, so I live in Las Vegas, and believe it or not, I'm not a gambler. So gambling and going to the casinos isn't that big for me. I'm a huge sports fanatic, though. I'm a football fan through and through. So, Thursday nights, tonight, I hope you all realize I gave up Thursday night football for tonight. So that was a big one for me. But, I love my sports. I enjoy reading and really investing time in my family. My wife, my 2 kids, my mom, my dad, my brother and his wife, and my new nephew. That's the most important thing. Like, if you don't have your family, like, what's it all worth? So it's family time.
Sure. I love how you said that. I love what that means to you. And I know you mentioned you have 2 kids, I believe I heard you say earlier.
Yep.
If you were just giving a message to them right now, let's say they go back one day, and if they're like, my sons will probably, I don't know if they ever go back and watch my videos, but let's say they go back one day and they just see this right here. What message what words of encouragement would you want to give them right now? What's on your heart that you just want to tell them right now?
So from me to them, wow, you're putting me on the spot here. It's just nothing but love. That's it. Everything that's ever happened, good or bad, has always come from a place of love and care and wanting better for you than I've had for myself. Yeah. So I think we all want that for our kids. We don't want our kids to make the mistakes that we made. We don't want them to go swimming in Lake Stupid like we did when we were in college. We want them to be better. So, I think that's the big thing. But for them with life, if they look back now, is like, don't take things personal. Like, right. Don't take everything to heart. Learn how to weed through messages and understand, even when people are saying things out of hate and negativity, there's usually a message behind it. And when you can actually peel back the layers and look at the root, you get that ability to break through.
Yeah, that is so true. When we come back, we're going to have Evan give his final comments, his final thoughts for those entrepreneurs that are out there right now. They got to keep on going. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten when he gives his final thoughts to kind of give us how he sees the future, right? Like, what does he see happen over the next several months, by the way. But before we do that, Evan, let me pause for a moment. We'll slow down and speed up. And let me just give you a minute to maybe have a few words to the love of your life for the last, I think you said 13 years, who's certainly been supportive. What would you say to her right now? If she's watching, my wife is not watching, she's asleep. But if she's watching, goes back and sees this video one day, what would you want to say to her?
Oh, she's not watching. She's probably watching TMZ right now. But, you know, through the good, the bad, the ugly, the piece that's always got us through is just understanding that it's always positive intent and it's always love. And, you know, she's my best friend in the world. And every day that I've had her and we have each other is a blessing. You know, it's funny, Shay, because we're like polar opposites. I mean, polar opposites in every way imaginable. You know, she's Mexican and Puerto Rican. I'm Jewish. You know, it's this crazy mix, but somehow we've balanced each other out. You know, I kind of, it's funny. It's like I seem so extrovert, but in a lot of ways I'm an introvert. Like I love my quiet time.
Yeah,
and she's
introverts. I'm an introvert too.
Oh, so introverts do make good leaders, by the way.
Yes.
But I'm this strange, weird blend. But no, you know, we balance each other out. We make each other better every day, and I think that's what partners do. Is the ideal partner makes you a better person. They create this inner fire that sparks you to want to be better today than you were yesterday. And for her, she gives that to me every day, and I hope I give that to her.
Yeah. Hey, well said, my friend. Well said. Well, everyone, you're watching right now the Happy Entrepreneur Show. You're listening to Evan. Evan's been talking all about email deliverability and the importance in sharing the number one way to increase your revenues with digital marketing. And email is a revenue driving machine. I know we said that, and I didn't want to hammer that point because I know it's much more than revenue tonight. But email is a revenue driving machine. And while you might get caught up a lot with all this other stuff going on, and they are important, and they'll get more and more important, where we are today is email still important. Now, will it be important 5 years away? I don't know. Will it go away during my lifetime? Maybe so. But today it is very, very important. So we come back. I'm going to ask Evan if he'll have the final thoughts for all the entrepreneurs to have to go out there and do what you do best. Have more meaning in the world. Have more impact in the world. And as my good friend Delator McNeil will say, make $1 and a difference at the same time. And that is possible when you have the right message and you help people solve a problem. One of the things we love to say is that people will pay you today if you help them solve a problem today. That's it. Okay, we're going to go over to my good friend Sakoni Prince down in Mobile, Alabama. Oh, talk to me, by the way. I think he's in Mobile. I'm pretty sure. And he's talking about being flexible. Yeah. Be flexible. I did say be flexible. Yeah, I did say that. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hello, everybody. How you doing today? This is Sakoni Prince of SakoniPrince.com, where we make motivation personal by introducing you to yourself. And I'm in the Happy Entrepreneurs Tribe, giving you your thought of the week. And your thought of the week is going to be a philosophy that I use. We're dealing with most situations. It's a 3-part philosophy. Number 1, you got to be flexible. Number 2, you have to make adjustments. And number 3, you have to have fun. Now, look, when I say be flexible, I mean you have to realize that everything is not going to go 100% the way you thought in the first place. So you're going to have to actually be flexible enough to make whatever changes are needed in order to get the job done. But then that brings you to the next point, which is make adjustments. That means that there are going to be times where you're going to have to tweak and turn stuff and just to get it exactly the way it needs to be. You're going to have to make adjustments, not only be flexible, but you're going to have to be a part of that process. How do we make it better? How do we get it done? How do we fix this? But then thirdly, you need to have fun. And why having fun? Because having fun, it allows you to keep that excitement and that enthusiasm. And once that excitement and enthusiasm is gone, it really becomes work. So look, whatever you're doing, whatever you're going after, make sure that you be flexible. Make sure that you make adjustments and make sure that you're having fun, because that's going to make it just that more effective and the outcome is going to be that much better. Hey, look, this is Sakoni Prince of SakoniPrince.com, where we make motivation personal by introducing you to yourself. And I'm in the Happy Entrepreneurs Tribe giving you your thought of the week. And why? Because you guys rock. And look, I want to thank Shay for this opportunity. And I say back over to you, Shay.
Absolutely. Be flexible. Be flexible. Be flexible. Someone do me a favor. Look right below the video. Look right below the video and write those words, Be flexible. That's right. Just write those words. Be flexible. And I'm going to ask you, as you're listening to Evan, just like I had to do almost 60 days ago, be flexible to doing something new. It might be outside your comfort zone to do this, but it's within your grasp. Like, you could reach out and you could do this. You could reach out to Evan at Fundamental Marketing. He's going to give you a way to contact him. You can reach out online, like he said, and watch YouTube videos. Whatever you have to do, nothing is more frustrating when you know that email is a revenue-driving machine. Nothing's more frustrating than working with your copy team to make sure you have just the right words. Nothing's more frustrating than working with your graphics team to make sure you have just the right image inside the email. Nothing's more frustrating than making sure the email is put inside of your CRM correctly and formatted correctly, and then hitting that button and feeling good only for that email to get lost in email space somewhere. I mean, that's the kiss of death.
The abyss.
Yeah, that sucks. And I've been there. And that's not what we want to be for you. And there is a way. There is hope. And the hope is to make sure you do the things that Evan has talked about. So, Evan, first, let me say thank you so much. Certainly appreciate you, man. You're amazing. You're incredible. Big heart. I liked it from the very first time we connected. I know when Trevor Otts first told me he had someone else for us to talk to, I'm like, oh, gosh, not another one of these geeky type of folks. But you made it easy. You made it simple. You broke it down in a way that even I could understand it without spending 4 hours on the phone. And more importantly, you got the results. So my hat is off to you, man. Thank you again. You're incredible. Appreciate you spending time. I'd like for you to close out and kind of share any final thoughts, any final comments that you have with all the entrepreneurs that are working right now. And they have to do exactly what we talked about today. They got to go out and communicate with the people that they were called to serve. Thanks a lot, my man.
All right, well, dude, thank you so much. It's you the man. I'm lucky to be here and very blessed to be here. I think there's a few key takeaways. Number one is, and I love the be flexible before this because you really have to be, but you can't bury your head in the sand and hope this passes you by, because if you attempt to go that route, it's gonna kick you in the behind and it's gonna kick you hard. And today, it's a lot harder to repair reputation than it was a year ago. A year ago, someone who's in bad shape, 2 to 3 weeks, we could make really big changes. Now, 2 to 3 weeks is 2 to 3 months. And that has a very big financial impact on you. So please don't put your head on the sand. I don't care if you come to me for help, you go to someone else for help, whatever you do, pay attention to this stuff, because the only thing it'll do if you don't pay attention is affect your wallet. And that's just the gospel right there. That's the big point, is pay attention to this now and realize that the game has changed. You can't do what you used to be able to do 10 years ago, which is mail them till they scream at you or opt out. You can't do that anymore. I had a client of mine, and they're spending, just so you know, about $172,000 a month on Facebook advertising. That's their monthly spend. And they're mailing their whole list every day, all day, hoping that they're going to get through. And what I was able to show them, that 32% of new subscribers were never getting their email. So basically, they were lighting about $56,000 a month on fire in ad spend because those new subscribers couldn't get emails because of the old emails they were saying. And I finally had to have this funny conversation with them. Was like, I know why you're emailing them, because you're hoping that one day, a year from now, you're going to create an email that has the right subject line and the right copy with the right call to action that takes them to the right sales page, that just has the perfect offer that they've never seen before, and magically they're going to buy. The reality is, that's rarely ever going to happen. Where you've got the ability to create the most income in your business is on new subscribers, new people coming into your funnels or to your sales process that are raising their hand and saying, I have a problem, I'm interested now. If you can't get messages to those people, you're in trouble. And if you don't do what we're talking about today, you're going to have problems reaching those. So that's the big point. realize there is a problem going on. You might not see it yet. This email deliverability is this problem that a lot of times you don't know it's a problem until it's really, really bad. It just kind of sits there and slowly festers to the surface. And if you don't know what to watch for, it'll bite you. So be proactive. Don't get bitten. It's just like anything in life. Now you know that you got to watch for it. So pay attention to it. If you've got questions, ask. I tell all my clients the only bad questions are the questions that don't get asked. So there are no bad questions. You can reach me. I think Shay's got me tagged on Facebook. Friend me on Facebook. Shoot me a message. You could find me here. Go to my website. It's super simple. Fundamental.marketing. Set up a call. Let's take a look. But whether it's me, someone, anybody, pay attention to this stuff, because the only thing not paying attention will do is affect your wallet, not in a good way. Wow. So that's my closing arguments there.
So well said, my man. So well said. Once again, thank you so much, everyone out there been watching the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country. We appreciate all of the viewers. We appreciate all of you who made comments right below. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We appreciate all you who hit the share button, all of you hit the heart button, all of you who show up every single evening. We love you. Appreciate you in the Happy Entrepreneur Tribe. With that being said, I want you to know that you're a winner. Only winners show up. You've got greatness inside you. Only the folks that have greatness inside them show up. And then I know for you with 100% certainty that the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. The best is still yet to come. With that being said, by the way, my name, by the way, is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. God bless, and I wish you success. All right, Evan, thanks a lot, my man. You rock, too.
Thank you.
You rock.
Please go ahead and give a big standing ovation for the one and the only Shay Brown.
And I'm here right now in this moment with none other than the one and only Dr. Willie Jolly. What's up, my friend?
It's a privilege and a pleasure and a treat and a treasure to be in your presence.
All right, Delator, we're going to get started. You ready, Delator?
I'm ready, friend.
You ready, Dr. Connect?
Ready.
None other than Andy Henriquez. And we have someone like a Dr. Sonia who's a bad sister. All right, now, go ahead with your bad self. None other than the Kim Warren Martin. That's the promise I made to my mom. I only did this message for one person, and that's my mom. This is for you, Mom. Love you. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Shay Brown.
Mic check, mic check.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Yes. Yeah.
And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win.
Thank you. God bless.